Hola, Geek fans. Welcome back for another Game of Thrones recap show. I'm Shane Gurich. This is Jacob Desitels. Today we're talking about Episode 9, Battle of the Bastards on Game of Thrones. Usually the Episode 9, historically in past seasons, has been the big one. They go big. Like we saw the Battle of the White Water or the Battle of the Wall. So they're doing it again. This time it's the Battle of the Bastards. We're going to get right to it. We're going to use our usual format of location. Even though today it's actually pretty simple. The show wasn't too confusing. There's only two locations. They were in Meereen or they were at Winterfell fighting in the Battle of the Bastards. So we'll start off with dragons.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So, Daenerys, I was disappointed last episode with Daenerys and how she rode in on the dragon, then it flew off, and I assumed that was going to be the end of it. It was going to happen off screen, and it was lame. I was like, this is stupid. No, nothing's happening off screen here. So, first we get the slavers, who are delusional, I guess, thinking that she's going to surrender to them. And I love this scene where the slavers are talking to her, and at one point, they acknowledge she has dragons.
Yeah.
Oh, and the dragons below the Great Pyramid will be slaughtered. Right, so you're acknowledging she has dragons. All right, okay. That's your first problem here. Yeah. You made some tactical errors. and then at one point, Daenerys is like, no, we're here to talk about your surrender. And then you hear the roar in the background. Yeah. And you can see it, actually, really see something flying in the background. And there's Drogon. He comes riding in, and it's super badass. Yes. When he lands next to her, you see how huge his head is. Uh-huh. And they realize at that point, the slavers are like, oh, we're fucked.
We fucked up.
Yeah, we done did bad. Yeah. And then she rides off on her dragon, and lo and behold, the other dragons break free. And it's a 3-dragon coordinated attack, and it is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was awesome. They're just burning all the ships. It was, I really liked that whole thing. And then they have the thing with the 3 slave masters, and what was it?
What Grey Worm tells them. Yeah. One of you has to die.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're kind of little bitches. Yeah. So the highborn guys are like, oh, he's not one of us. He was lowborn. He made his riches afterwards. Yes. So he's scum.
Yeah, and then he bows. And he's like, don't kill me, please. And then Grey Worm kills the other 2.
Oh, yeah. I loved it. Yeah. Then I love the scene where Tyrion puts his hand out. He's like, tell your people what you saw here today. And if they have any ideas about rising up or rebellion, well, tell them what happened when Daenerys Stormborn came to Meereen with her dragons. Yeah. And I think maybe now they're going to get the message. Uh-huh. Because, I mean, that scene with the... people complained in episode... it was the last scene, the episode where Daenerys first rode a dragon. Yeah. People complained a bit about the special effects. They're like, it wasn't perfect. Yeah. Here, this just looks spectacular, I thought. I was like, oh my God, she's riding a dragon. The city and all the ships, it looked amazing.
Yeah, it did. It was movie quality there.
Yeah, it was movie quality. It was stunning and incredible. And I was not expecting this because I was expecting the Battle of the Bastards, which we'll talk about in a moment, and I didn't expect anything else. Yeah. But we got this and it was great. And then we got another excellent scene at Meereen where the Greyjoys have arrived. Apparently they have 100 ships. Yeah. And Theon and Yara are there talking to Daenerys, saying, "Hey, let's join up. Yeah. Let's go take out Westeros." And I really like their scene together of like the two women, these two powerful women are having this conversation about, well, has there ever been a queen of the Iron Isles? No. Has there been a queen of Westeros? No. So it was really interesting that their dialogue. I found it really just a good moment in the show.
Yeah, I really like that too. The whole thing with them, like. You can tell that Theon's sister was definitely hitting on Daenerys there, but I really like that their whole interaction there was really good. But I'm wondering what happened to their uncle, because he was going after.
He's still around. The goal, because I guess the alliance is like, well, we want the Iron Isles back. Well, our crazy uncle killed our father. Blah, blah, he has ships, we need to take care of him, we'll help you with our ships. And then the slavers' ships, because they didn't destroy all the slaver ships, they strategically destroyed a few so they'd surrender, and they took all their ships. So we'll help you with this problem, we'll help you with your problem, we'll help you take Westeros, we'll help you take the Iron Islands. And I can see it's coming together, the alliances are coming together, the players are lining up to fight. She's actually, it looks like, soon going to be traveling off to Westeros, which is obviously what I really hope to see happen. And that's where it ends there. That's where the show ends in that part of the world. And then we move on for the rest of the episode to Winterfell, to the Battle of the Bastards. We see Ramses and his party, Lord Karstark and then the other lords, and then Jon Snow, and he's got Lady Mormont and his sister. They meet. Ramses is an asshole like always. Just surrender. I'm a man of mercy. Obviously, no one's buying that. Then Sansa rides off after saying, "You're gonna die tomorrow," right?
Yeah. She basically says that, and like she's like, "Sleep well because you're going to die tomorrow."
Yeah.
And, I really like that the whole interaction because she is so done with everyone's shit, and especially his because he tortured her.
Yes.
And we all want to see him die too.
Yeah.
And I really like that whole thing. And then Jon Snow was kind of an idiot. And he, I'm skipping ahead a little bit.
You're skipping ahead a little bit. So after they talk, then they have the night before the battle.
Yep.
And I like this build up. Right? I like how they have the scene they're talking, and then they have the scene where they're walking around. You have Thorman, I think that's his name, the leader of the wildlings. He's right. So the various people are talking amongst themselves. What's going to happen? The scene that I find most interesting though is Jon Snow is talking to the Red Woman, to Lady Melisandre, and at this point she's not so sure of herself anymore.
Yeah.
It's like, well, what advice can you offer? Well, don't lose.
Yeah.
Well, how do you know what's going to happen? I read the signs, but I don't know.
Yeah.
She seems kind of detached from her low. And Davos.
Yeah.
So Sir Davos is the other character, and he's talking to Tormund. But so she's talking to the Red Woman. The Red Woman, she's kind of out of it. And then they show Davos again. This is right before dawn. So he's walking around all night, and he finds the toy of the young princess, the one that was burnt last year by that was burnt at the stake because of the Red Woman. And this shot is so amazing because it's the pyre where she was burnt, but it's daylight is coming. Dawn is arriving, and it looks kind of like flames. And so the cinematography was just amazing in that scene. And now he's made the connection. Wait, the little princess was killed because of the Red Woman, and they set her on fire. That's how they did that, which they don't talk about anymore in this episode, but I'm expecting they're going to talk about it maybe in the season finale. And then we get to the Battle of the Bastards. So, what does Ramsay do? He wants to throw Jon off. Sansa's telling Jon, hey, he's just screw with you. You're not going to screw with him. He's just screw with you. Don't fall into his trap. And they had this whole thing with the battle plan. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It all falls apart because Ramsay does a trick. He has Rickon Stark, Jon's brother. He sends Rickon out. Go run to your family. Go run to your family.
The hundreds of yards that are between the two armies.
Jon gets on his horse and runs to catch up to him. Why is he doing that? It's exposing himself. It's just right away. I'm like, this is dumb.
Yes.
I bought it, but I'm like, you need to be better as a commander. You need to know better. Because he fell into the trap. Obviously, he fakes like he's shooting at him, but he's not really shooting at him. Because he's a good with a bow. We've already seen that in the past. And then when he wants to kill him, he kills him right at the end, right when Jon gets to them. And he almost kills Jon when he has his archers fire. But Jon manages to not get killed by them. But then the cavalry is called in, and there's an amazing shot of Jon Snow taking out his sword and the horses. They just moving.
The entire army just going right at him. That was a really good shot.
It was stunning. And at that point, the wildlings and all the other forces, they had no choice. We gotta go. And the two armies clash, and Jon Snow's in the middle of it, and goddamn was just amazing. The horse is alone. It was so ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't know how they made that look as real as it did.
The chaos of battle. The director that directed Hardhome, he's the one that directed this episode. He knows how to depict the chaos and the sheer terror of battle. Because in Hardhome, that's one of the things I got from it was like, oh my God, there's so much craziness happening around me. It's just wild. I can't even follow it. And it keeps escalating because they have the horses come in, and then eventually though they get surrounded by the men in shields.
Yes, that was a really intense scene because they're just closing in on them, and I felt a little claustrophobic there in the scene because I was like, where are they going to go?
And it was really interesting how they trapped him because during the battle, Ramses keeps having his archers shoot into the battle. Even though he's killing his own men as well as the Stark's men, he doesn't care because he has twice the number of men.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Stark side, Lord Davos is like,
yeah, we can't shoot because we're gonna kill our own men. And we can't afford to do that.
We can't afford that, and we're not sick bastards that kill our own men, right? But so that we can't afford to do it. It's just that's not even on the table, even if we could, right? So these piles of bodies are starting to appear. And historically, if you read about old medieval battles and old battles like in the Civil War, this is what happened when you have thousands of men fighting in a small area.
Yeah.
One group dies. And they start fighting over their bodies, they die, right? So this is something that happens, but they rarely ever show in any kind of movie or show. They just don't really ever show this. It's not something people think about it, but it's something that actually occurred in historical battles. So to see this was like a medieval battle brought to life, and I thought it was spectacularly done.
Yeah. I remember the part where there was that huge pile of bodies, and Jon's forces are trying to escape that way, but then Ramsay's guys come up.
Who rules the North?
Yeah.
We do. Show me. Yeah. And they come on the other side of the bodies.
Yeah, and they just start hacking Jon's men down, and they trap them that way too.
Right. So they can't escape up the pile of dead bodies, and then the spearmen, the shield holders, they just keep moving a little bit closer and a little bit closer. And at one point, it looks like Jon Snow might be getting trampled to death.
Yeah. That part was that was a little intense right there.
I have not been in a sword battle, but I've been to concerts where I've been at the very front of the concert, and there's huge numbers of people, and they keep trying to move to the front, and there's a barrier. You can't. It's a strong metal barrier, and they keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And I've seen people pass out, and like security guards have to grab them and pull them out. I mean, I've seen this firsthand, and I'm imagining like, my God, imagine that already is horrible, but then with people with swords and arrows are flying.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. And in the scene, I didn't expect Jon to lose, but still, even though I expected Jon to win, I still felt for him. That's how powerful it was. And there's that scene where he finally gets out and he's grasping for air, and his armies, you can see the crush is happening. Yeah. You can see one the giants being stabbed over and over again by the spears. You're like, oh, this is. Even though it's not over, like something's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I felt I was drawn into it.
Yeah, I knew something was gonna happen, but I was like, how are they going to get out of here?
Right.
Like that's what I wanted to know. And but that whole thing was really intense. And then when it seems that they're going to die, you hear the horn. Ramsay turns his head, and then you see Sansa and Littlefinger there.
The Knights of the Vale have come to save the day, and it was awesome. It was spectacular. And then once that battle kind of calmed down, won the giant, Thormod, the leader of the wildlings, and Jon Snow, they run off ahead. The giant, in his last act, sacrifices his life basically to win the battle by smashing down the door. And he's like a pincushion at this point. Yeah. He's being shot over and over again. And then Ramsay, in his final act of assholeness, kills the fucking giant. I mean, the giant wasn't going to survive anyway at that point. But still,
he shoots him right in the eye.
Right in the eye, and then he's dead. And like Jon's look in his eyes, like the horror, like
Like the most powerful thing we had just died right in front of me. But then the next scene was probably my favorite, when Ramsay's shooting the arrows at Jon. He picks up the shield and just walks towards him and just beats the shit out of it.
And everyone in the background knows at this point, like, because they could all just kill him at any point. He's Ramsay's surrounded, and Jon just. No, he's like, let Jon handle this.
Yes.
Yep. As soon as he gets close enough, bam, and just starts beating the shit out of him. And then he sees Sansa, and he goes, and he stops, because he realizes this is not his kill.
Yep.
I'm going to back off now. And then Sansa, of course, eventually feeds Ramsay to his own hounds, who haven't been fed for 7 days. And yes, people pointed out there was an editing flaw, a logic flaw, because Ramsay said that to Jon after Sansa rode off.
Well, Jon told her.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. So someone just mentioned it. It's not that big of a deal. So I love this episode. I thought it was spectacular, but I have one major problem with it, and that was 1-1. The use of 1-1. I felt like he shouldn't have been in this battle.
Yeah.
That this was not a fantasy battle, and that 1-1 was a problem. They're like, how do we use 1-1 here? And here's the biggest problem. we've seen the Giants in the logic problem. In the past, when the Giants go to battle, they use weapons.
Yeah.
We saw the giant bow and arrow, the weird hook things. The only time they don't have weapons is when they don't know there's going to be a battle. Like at Hardhome, well, he didn't have a weapon. He didn't know there was going to be a battle. But then he finds a weapon.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a log.
Yeah.
No, right. Why didn't 1-1 have a club? And it's really obvious why he didn't have a club, because then he would have been unstoppable.
Yeah. They would have won, like right early on.
They wouldn't have been able to trap him.
Yeah, even if he had a giant bow and arrow, he could have taken out scores of men just by shooting it right into them.
Right. And that scene where like as soon as they got trapped, and I'm seeing him getting stabbed and like trying to block the spears, I'm like, if he just had his own weapon right now, he could just do this thing, break all the weapons, and then start smashing them.
Yeah.
Why would he go into battle? And that kind of bothered me. It felt like that they couldn't pull it off because that would involve, because if you gave him a club, now he's more deadly, but now it's more complicated. The scenes are just much more complicated. The director admitted that they didn't include Snow in the episode, the direwolf, because it was already too much. 1-1 was already too much of a character, and they kind of toned him down. He didn't do that much in the battle.
Yeah.
You know, he tore some guys. The stuff he did was cool, and at one point he grabs one of the people's shields, and he's like using it to swat people. I'm like, if he just had a proper weapon, you know.
Yeah.
So that annoyed me, the use of 1-1 a little bit.
Yeah, I think the only reason he was in there is because why wouldn't he come along with the wildlings?
Right.
I think that was the only reason.
He had right. The thing is, why wouldn't he have a club?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, they already showed in the Battle of Hardhome, he had a fucking log. He's just mowing down guys with a log.
Yeah.
Why he's like, oh shit, let me just grab this log here and I'll start, because then the battle strategy wouldn't work. So it's like they purposely handicapped him, but he had to be there. So like.
And then the director was like, all right, I guess we'll kill him now, because what else are we going to do with him?
Right.
And I was really mad about that. I knew you were going to be mad about that, because you've been saying all along, you better not kill the giant, and they did.
And the reason I'm mad about it is because he's such a cool character visually.
Yeah.
But that's also probably one of the reasons why they killed him.
Yeah.
Because the director talked about what a pain in the ass filming him was. He actually mentioned, I read an article about it, the same article he says, when we couldn't do Snow, he's like, 1-1, which, oh my God, that was a nightmare filming that stuff, because he's not there.
Yeah.
He doesn't exist. You know, they have to make all these shots, like imagining what they're going to do with CG months afterward. So it's really, and they're already doing the stuff with the dragons. There's so much going on. I'm still hoping that there might be some giants, you know, beyond the wall, because they're cool. They're visually really neat looking characters on screen.
Yes, and they're also very helpful in battles.
Right.
Too.
And they're great siege engines. You know, just, you got a door, well, I'll bust that down. And that's one thing he did that is actually really useful when he broke the door down.
Yeah.
Right. He acted as a siege engine, and I did feel really bad when the giant died, and I knew he's like halfway through the battle, I knew he was dying. As soon as they showed that scene where they kept stabbing with the spears, he's kind of like wobbly. I'm like, oh, he's not gonna last.
Yeah.
Because they want an emotional point. And I was hoping that Rickon's death would be enough. Like, okay, they killed off Rickon. They're not going to have another emotional squeeze. Oh, then they killed the giant off.
Yeah. I think that was because Rickon, we haven't seen him for such a long time, so it's like, whatever. But, yeah.
But other than that, that's a minor quibble I had. Otherwise, the episode was astonishingly awesome.
Yeah, I really liked the episode too. It wasn't as good as Hardhome for me, but it was still an amazing battle.
I liked Hardhome more just because it had more fantasy elements.
Yeah, same.
Like, because the Hardhome had the giant going full awesome in that episode, and then had the White Walkers, had the Army of the Undead. I mean, that was badass. But I can see why people would like this episode more. That Game of Thrones is awesome. Stay tuned for more Game of Thrones recap. We got the season finale coming in next. Oh my.